Welcome to Shul.com. Today we are asking a very, very good question. How does one succeed at learning Torah? There have been many opinions and many different ideas of how to succeed, but today we're going to go to RAMBAM, who's referred to as HaNesher HaGadol. Some learn Nesher to be an eagle, but if you actually look at some other texts, it calls it a vulture, because you need to be a vulture when you're actually learning Torah and finding different hiddushim and looking for the real meat that exists in the Torah. But let's take a look at RAMBAM and what he has to say here. RAMBAM, it's Hilchot Talmud Torah Perek. We're going to look at it in detail inside. I'm going to break it down for you quickly, and then we'll go into the sources. First, number one, mitparnes mimaaseh yadav. First and foremost, he has a parnasa, an income from his own work. He either labors, he owns his own business, he has an income coming in from him or himself or his wife, not from others that are just feeding him money in order for him to study and learn Torah. That's one of the main keys of it. Number two, he must almost kill himself on the Torah, which means he's going to have to sacrifice hours of sleep at night. In the morning, he's going to have to sacrifice certain hannaot, pleasures and lusts that exist in this world in order to focus on learning. He's going to have to sacrifice that, and that is one of the components. Every person is different, so that sacrifice is not going to be itemized. It's going to be determined by you, yourself, and how you are living. Number three, hayageya betorato bebet hakneset lo bimanahu mishacheyach. That's a very important one. Learning at home is good. Learning in the Bet HaKnesset will guarantee that you will not forget it so quickly. Number four, hayageya betalmudo betzin'a mahkim. You want to become more intelligent in your learning? You're going to have to learn privately, bitzin'ah, without anybody knowing and without anybody having an idea of what's going on. You got to take the books, you got to learn privately, seemingly, in the Bet HaKnesset, in order to learn and be matzliach. Let's look at number five. Hamashmiya kolo b'shat talmudo mitkayim beyado. When you are learning, you must say the words loud enough for you to be able to listen and to hear them. That is one of the components of being able to grasp and remember the learning. Let's look at number six. Hakore belahash b'menahu shocheyach. He throws that other one in, that if you're reading it quietly, it's going to cause you to forget. If you read with your eyes, you probably for sure will forget. Number seven, mi sheratza liskot beketet haTorah yizahel lilmod bechol lilotav. You need to study at night. At nighttime, specifically here, is talking about the chut shel chesed, and that is referring to after Hatzot until Alot, until the morning time. Some people refer to it during the nighttime, meaning from the evening until Hatzot. But this that RAMBAM is referring to is talking about after Hatzot until the morning time. That is the chut shel chesed. He brings down a couple of other important points. B'chol bayit she'en nishma'in bo divrei Torah balayla ish uchlato. Any home, Jewish home, in which at night zero Torah is spoken, a fire will consume it. It could be a physical fire, it could be a spiritual fire, but just know it's not going to be enjoyable. So that can actually be very easily solved. Take one Mishnah while you're at night, before you go to bed, and read one Mishnah. I remember when we were in Yeshiva Flatbush Elementary School, I think it was in 4th or 5th grade, we had this teacher, Mrs. Bresky, Mrs. Leah Bresky. I don't even know what happened to her at the end, but Mrs. Bresky had a thing where she forced us. She was a Holocaust survivor, and she forced everybody in the room to learn Pirkei Avot ba'al peh. That's a Mishnah. It's Masechet Avot, Nizikin. So, Baruch Hashem, I was able to learn it. And I, by the way, at the time, 5th grade, 4th grade, I was not thrilled with having to learn this by heart. It was very hard. But now, 30 plus years later, I know these Pirkei Avot by heart in her memory, in Mrs. Leah Bresky's memory. So it's key on that. Learn one Mishnah, learn it by heart. Before you go to bed, before you say Shema, say that one Mishnah and you are covered. Someone who is wealthy and has money, and he's mebatel, he abandons the Torah, then unfortunately it tells us here he's going to end up being mebatel the Torah from being poor. So if a person has the means to learn and he does not, and he's mebatel the Torah, he should be careful on that. Next, somebody who does not have the means, is not well off so much, but he forces himself to learn and he sets the time and takes that seriously, you can be assured that one day he too will be wealthy financially, and he will also be able to learn with that calmness. And then you have Tachat lo abata et Hashem Elohecha b'simcha uvtuv levav merov kol ve'abata et oivecha. Oivecha. This is the hardest of them all, is that people worship, learn Torah, and pray to God without happiness and without tuvness, goodness, and without their hearts. Merov kol. What does merov kol mean? Even though God gave you everything. You have a shelter, you have a place to live, you have a parnasa, you have food to eat, you can able to eat and drink, you pretty much have everything. And even with all that, you still were not able to worship Him out of happiness. You couldn't find anything to say thank you to God in order to be able to learn Torah and say, wow, you've given me everything I really need. And if you don't think you have everything, go visit a hospital, go see some of the things people have to go through in their life. And Baruch Hashem, most people have this ability, but they still worship God out of being sad. Like for some reason God's out to get them, which He is never out to do that. And then what's the punishment of that? If that is the case, that you're worshiping God, you're doing the worship. You're praying, you're learning, but you're doing it out of sadness and out of difficulty and being moshech. You got to force yourself to do it in a way that you're sad. Then at the end, it says, you're going to end up worshiping your enemy. And the worship of the enemy doesn't necessarily mean that a person is going to bow down to his enemy, but it could be you're going to be worshiping things that you hate to do. You're going to end up having to do things that you don't want to do, and you're going to want to stay out of that. So how do you solve it? Find things in the Torah you enjoy learning. If you don't understand the tefillah in Hebrew, read it in English or in Spanish or in any French or any other language you know. If there's Torah that you specifically enjoy learning, let's say there's guys who like Chumash Rashi, there's guys who like Nevi'im, there's guys who like to learn the Megillot, some people, they're big Gemara people, some people love Halacha, some people like Midrashim, Segulot, Agadot, whatever it is that you like. God created in every Jew certain keys and sparks. Go for what you enjoy and do it out of love, and you will be successful. And with this, we'll go into the text of RAMBAM and see this all inside. It was the way of the original Hasidim that they would do this, that they would work for themselves, have their own parnasa, and then learn and teach. And with this, you're going to get all of the honor, the good and the goodness that exists in this world, and also in the next word, let's look at bet. The Torah will not be successful for someone who slacks himself off when he learns. Or from a person who makes the learning, makes it just meals, doing luxurious meals every time he does it, and it becomes like a party for him. Every time he's learning, he makes a party out of it. That you have and you have to make your body, your physical goof, have a form of suffering. And I'm not telling you to make a person suffer, but there is a sacrifice needed for the Torah to go into the person. And don't put a lot of sleep onto your eyes, to your eyelids. They give a little hint. It said in the Bamidbar Yutet that the Torah is going to be mikayem, someone who dies in a tent. What does that mean? Not that he's dying in a tent. But someone who makes himself in a form uncomfortable into the tents of the Chachamim, the wise people. And if a person does that, he's going to gain this extra boost in learning. And the wisest of all men, and said in Mishlei Chaf Daled, Hitrapita beyom tsar kochecha ve'od. Amar, Af chochmati amedali chochma shelamati be'af hi amedali amru chachamim brit kirota shekol hayageh betorato bebet haKnesset lo b'menahu meshacheach. And a person who studies in the Bet HaKnesset or the Bet HaMidrash or a designated place for Torah and yeshiva, wherever that is, he's not going to forget very quickly. And someone who learns privately, he's going to become intelligent. Like it says in Mishlei Yud Aleph, whoever hears his learning, while he is learning, it will be mitkayem in him. But someone who reads quietly will forget, and someone who doesn't even read it at all, of course he is learning, and he gets sachar for learning with his eyes, But remember, you want to be able to remember your learning. Gimel, afal pi mitzvah l'lmod bayom u balayla, en adam lomed rov chokhmato ela balayla. Even though it's a mitzvah to learn in the morning, in the daytime, and in the nighttime, most of the knowledge should be done at night. Of the learning for this knowledge should be done at night. You want that crown of the Torah? You should come and learn every single night in the Beit Midrash. And don't give it up for extra sleep, for going out for meals, for drinking, for talking. If you want to do that after the learning or before the learning. Don't give the learning up for that. Like they said, the song of the Torah is specifically at night. Wake up and sing at night. Whoever does this at night, and if you do this, a chut shel chesed will come up during the day. Shneimar yomam yitzaveh Adonai chasto b'layla shiro imi tefillah le'el hayai b'chol bayit she'en nishma'im bo divrei Torah. In a home that you don't have in it divrei Torah, b'layla ish ochlato, a fire will consume it. Remember we said it could be a physical or a spiritual fire, but why even get yourself into this mess? Shneimar kol choshech tamun nitzfonav te'ochleu esh lo nupach. And it says b'midbar tetvav ki devar Hashem baza ze lo hishkiach divrei Torah. He didn't take learning Torah seriously. Whoever could learn, and he does not. And osek is different than learning. Learning and being osek is different level than just reading. Let me explain to you. A person could just sit in shul, learn 2 halachot from the rabbi, and he has he learns a halacha in the morning, at night, and he gets his covering. But that's not osek b'Torah. Osek b'Torah is when you are learning and you're taking to level 2, 3, and 4. You're understanding what the rabbis are saying, why they're saying it. Can you source out what they're saying? Do you fully grasp and understand the matters at hand well enough to be able to say it over? That's the second level osek. Like in business. Well, if a guy came to you in business and tried to sell you something, would you examine the product? Would you check the widget? Would you go, hey, wait, it doesn't look like it's right. I can get this from a different place. Oh, when it came to business, the guy knows how to be osek in business. When it came to learning, he tells the guy, yeah, I learned it, I read it. You read it once. Yeah, but I want to see a guy do that in business. No, in business, he took it seriously. So be fair. Be fair with God. If God's going to give you the business, do the same with it, with the Torah. Or what did he do? He read, he reviewed it, and then he reviewed it once and just went out to the Havdei Olam, to the regular word, and he leaves his Talmudo behind. This guy is being mebazeh and embarrassing the word of God. Whoever is mevatel and gives up the Torah from oshed when he has a lot and wealth, so for the batela me'oni, at the end he will be mevatel it from having much less. But someone who does it from oni, from being poor, a pauper, and not having too much, so for the he too at the end of his life will end up being successful from doing it from wealth. It's a mefurash right in the Torah. That you didn't worship to God, your Lord, from happiness, and from goodness of your heart, even with everything He gave you. And in that place you'll worship your enemy. You'll worship desires that might seem fun in the beginning, or addictions that seem fun, but at the end they're just addictions that they're your enemies, that you want to just remove yourself from them. And it's very interesting, Rav Meir Eliyahu actually brought down a very nice segula, that if a person, let's say, is going to meet somebody in business, in life, let's say he has a court case and he's going to stand in front of somebody, how can you get that charm in front of you? It's actually really interesting. He brings down that what you should do is wake up after Hatzot, go sleep early, wake up after the Hatzot time, wash your hands, say Birkot HaShachar, do Tikkun Hatzot, and then learn from the morning all the way until Shacharit time, pray Shacharit, and then go straight to your meeting. And even the individual, if he seemingly doesn't like you, that charm, that chut shel hesed will be on your face, your body spiritually, and that energy will carry itself off to others. And if you do this segula, you'll be matzliach and finding favor seemingly in people and in places which you may not have had before. This is especially true if a person has a court case or something important that's coming up. And with this, we learn some of the basics of being successful in learning Torah. Baruch Adonai le'olam. Amen ve'amen.